Hey everyone, this is Matt, and in today's video I have for you something very special. This is going to be a Dark Magician deck profile. Yes. Now, before people get too excited, and before you immediately skip to the end and decide, oh, let me take this deck to locals or whatever, fair warning. This deck profile is not, I repeat, not for Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG Advanced format. What is Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG Advanced format? That is the regular way Yu-Gi-Oh! Is played. So right now, Advanced format is played. Tier Limits is the best deck. There's Sprite, right? There's Runix, there's Bishil, branded Bishils, right? So that's TCG Advanced format. So the regular way to play Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG is called TCG Advanced format. This deck profile is not for that. I'll repeat, it is not for that. This is for a format which, at my locals, we call Janksequences, which is a kind which is a slight deviation of the Jank format. And if you don't know what the Jank format is, it's another name that my locals essentially calls Heart of the Underdog format. Okay, so what is Heart of the Underdog? So let's go to Konami's website right here. All right, North America Heart of the Underdog is an alternate format for local tournaments that is offered by official tournament stores OTS that is designed to encourage duelists to flex their deck building skills in a fun and creative way. This format is primarily intended to be fun and casual rather than being competitive, allowing duelists different ways to enjoy participating in Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game tournaments. Hard Underdog tournaments require all duelists build a deck using a deck type that is not prominent in the current metagame. The final determination of whether a deck type is allowed is at the discretion of the OTS, so make sure you reach out to your OTS before you start building your Hard Underdog deck. As with all local tournaments, each OTS determines the tournament entry and pricing, so please check with your OTS for details. Each duelist will receive Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG product pricing with the value, blah, blah, blah. The tournament can use either the advanced or traditional Forbidden Limited list, so be sure to check in with your OTS on which a list to prepare for. Okay, so that is Heart of the Underdog. So it is an officially supported Yu-Gi-Oh! Format by Konami, similar to there's GOAT format, there's Edison format, there's Time Wizard format, right? There's other formats. There's the common rarity format, right? So this is for Heart of the Underdog. So at my locals, and in fact, a few locals in my area where I live came up with a spreadsheet for their basically like what's going to be allowed, what's not going to be allowed in their in what they were calling Jank format, right? So we have Jank format tournaments, local tournaments every Fridays, and at the end of on the last Friday of each month, we have Janksequences, which I'll explain in a bit. But let me show you the spreadsheet. In this spreadsheet here, this is the main page, and this spreadsheet, is on Google Sheets and is basically changed every so often, right? Whenever the OTS stores in the area decide to change it based on how cards are doing. But essentially, if you look at the top left here, this like archetypes that are completely banned include Sorcerer, Sprite, Tearlaments, Bestial, and Exchange of Spirit cards, right? So those are straight up archetype bans, like no cards. Exchange of Spirit means like Ishizu cards, right? Watch lists are just archetypes that the OTS stores have their eye on as possible hits in the future if they get too out of control. And along with that, there's a list of a bunch of limited and semi-limited banned cards that are not allowed on top of the regular Forbidden Limited list. So just to go through, so semi-limits, in essence, pretty much every hand trap is semi-limited. Lancia is semi-limited. Ash semi-limited. D-Shifter, Droll, Lockbird, Effect Veiler, Nibiru. So almost every hand trap that you can think of is semi-limited in this Jank format. Okay, so semi-limited means to 2 copies. Other cards, other non-hand trap cards are also semi-limited. For example, Evenly Matches at 2, E-Telly is at 2, Eldritch is at 2, the Golden Lord is at 2, Lightning Storm's at 2, Mathematic Circular Diameter at 2 each, Fogblade is at 2, Skeletor Rykar is at 2, Kagari is at 2, Super Paul is at 2, Tri-Brigade Revolt is at 2. So, yeah, these lists change over time, so it's not always going to be this way. Limit list. Ben 10 is at 1, Meltdown 1, Rika Con 1, Scarecrow Astro 1, Time Pendulum Graph to 1, Lulu Virtual World Lulu to 1. And then banned cards include a lot of cards, mostly big name staple, Access Code Talker, banned, Anti-Spell, banned, Scythe, banned, Barone, banned, Bear Statues, banned, Boral Sword banned. Branded Fusion banned. Crooked Cook banned. Almost every floodgate you can imagine. D Fisher goes in match. There can be only one. Vanity's Ruler, Summon Limit, Skill Drain, Rivalry, ban. Macrocosmos banned, right? Dracoback is banned. So Adventure is allowed, but Dracoback is banned, and so is Wandering Griffin Rider banned. Zeus banned. Let's see what else. Garura banned. Featherstorm banned. Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity banned. Inspector Border banned. Isolde banned. Lubellion banned. Marine Cess Wave banned. Mirror Jade banned. Apex Avion banned. Torn Scales banned. Ryza banned. Right. So a lot of cards are banned. So the point is, this is not TCG advanced format. So if that's what you're looking for, this is not the video for you. Will I put out a Dark Magician deck profile for TCG Advance in the future? Perhaps, depending how, because I still enjoy Dark Magician, but it really depends on how much success I actually see with it. So, okay, so all right, so I mentioned Jank format, which is essentially Heart of the Underdog. So on the last Friday of every month, so that's today, they not only do Jank format, but they do a format called Janksequences. Janksequences is Jank format with one special rule. The special rule is you are allowed to use one card in your deck, main extra side, that is not allowed by the regular TCG Advanced Forbidden Limited list. Okay? One card, exactly one card, no more than one card. So what does that mean? That means you're allowed to run Pot of Greed, one copy of Pot of Greed in your main deck in this Janksequences format. Or maybe you want one copy of Graceful Charity. Maybe you want one copy of Painful Choice. Maybe you want 2 copies of Harpy's Feather Duster. So Harpy's Feather Duster is limited to 1. So in Janksequences, you're allowed to run 2 copies of Harpy's Feather Duster. You're allowed to run 2 copies of Called by the Grave, right? So you're allowed to run 3 copies of Destiny Hero Malicious, right? Because the third copy is not allowed. But again, in Janksequences format, at my locals, one card on the regular ban list, so not the Jank ban list, is allowed in your deck, right? So yeah. So knowing that I'm using Dark Magician, I built a Dark Magician deck. What one card do you think I brought back to life from the banned limited TCG Advanced list that is in this deck? If you guessed Predaplan Verte Anaconda, you are correct. Yes, so this is a Dark Magician deck that was tournament legal that in January 2023, where I ran Predaplan Verte Anaconda. All right, so with that out of the way, now that you understand the background and the premise. Now again, I wasn't planning to make this deck profile. Obviously, since most players out there, your locals is not going to have something like this. But here's the thing: if your locals doesn't have something like this, and you think players at your locals would enjoy a format like this, suggest it to your OTS stores, right? Once a week. So because there's basically locals every day there's so many different locals around town. There's a local tournament I can go to every day. It just so happens that on Fridays, it's Jank format at this one specific store, right? Yeah, convince one of your stores, hey, pick up this, create a Heart of the Underdog thing. Have a spreadsheet where you say what's custom cards that are banned, what archetypes are banned, etc. Right? So, yeah, the point is, even though this deck profile might not be relevant to you, you can make it relevant. Just talk to the owners of the OTS store, see if there's interest in it. I'm sure there's people interested in Go format, Edison format. There might be people interested in Heart of the Underdog, right? Second thing is, I just want to appreciate Dark Magician, right? It's just it's just being able to experience playing Verte Anaconda again in Dark Magician, and being able to get that draw 2 off Soul Servant on the first turn. It's just so satisfying, and it's a feeling that we just don't have anymore, right? Yeah, I wasn't planning to make this video. People in the Dark Magician Facebook group encouraged me, or the Facebook chat, right? So I'm doing it. Screw it. And then maybe as a third reason I'm making this video is I just want to flex my high rarity Dark Magician's cards. There. All right. So if none of that interests you, feel free to skip this video. Feel free to whatever. Unsubscribe. If I offended you, sorry. I'm always whatever. Just or stick around and appreciate Dark Magician when it was at its relatively full power. Now again, I did put Verte Anaconda in, but the Janksequences only allows one copy, so I was only able to get one Verte Anaconda's deck. Obviously, Full Power Dark Magician had two Verte Anacondas. For those of you who don't understand why, go watch my old Dark Magician videos from early last year, right? But anyway, let's get into it. So let's start with the main man himself. Two copies of the Dark Magician. So do not run three copies ever, right? Doesn't matter if it's heart of the Underdog format. Doesn't matter if it's Time Wizard format. Doesn't matter if it's advanced format. Just don't run three copies ever. Two is all you need, right? So I do have here the beautiful Ghost Rare Dark Magician, and I have, of course, the 25th anniversary Bandai artwork Ultra Rare Dark Magician from Battle of Chaos. So yeah, two copies of Dark Magician, one copy of Dark Magician Girl. Yes, I did acquire this the Ghost Rare Dark Magician Girl. This is from Ghost from the Past 2, right? Unfortunately, it is the censored artwork, but you know it's still a very pretty card. And finally, I guess the last brick, because all these cards are bricks, by the way. One copy of the Red Eyes Black Dragon. So yeah, this is the Ghost Rare from Ghost from the Past 2. Yeah, so one copy of Red Eyes Black. So these are bricks. You never want to see these in your hand. You want this in your deck or your graveyard, period. Red Eyes Black Dragon, you want in your graveyard after you've used Red Eyes Fusion, pretty much. But yeah, so those are our bricks. Do not run more DM Girls. Do not run more Red Eyes. You just don't need to. I think in Lulz's video, he's running two Red Eyes in his Dark Magician deck. But then again, he's playing his deck profiles for Advanced format TCG, and he's also not running the girl because it's like, well, without being able to consistently send girls to the graveyard, it's like, yeah, why even bother running her as a brick, right? So I can understand that, and in fact, like when I play around with Dark Magician in Advanced format TCG, I'll experiment with cutting girl for a second Red Eye, especially when you have tier limits using issues cards forced you to mill your cards. Like, you mill your Red Eyes off from tier limits. It's like feels so bad. Like you can't even like make a Dragoon play anymore. But anyway, yeah. So that is those are the bricks. All top tier rarities. Now for the main Dark Magician monsters, I'm running one copy of Apprentice Illusion Magician, two copies of Magician's Rod, and three copies of Magician's Souls, and of course two copies of Illusion of Chaos, baby. Wait, are those Starlight Illusion of Chaoses I just put on the board? Why, yes. Actually, how could you tell? Yeah, so those are the Starlights. I have two Starlights. Never run more than three Illusion of Chaos. I think 3 souls is pretty mandatory. So why am I at 2 rod and not 3 rod? I'll explain why in a bit, but it essentially boils down to I have other normal summons that are not part of the Dark Magician archetype that are not Magician's Rod. I mean, this card can be searched off Illusion of Chaos. It's going to recycle itself from the graveyard. I felt like 2 was enough, and in fact, after playing today, 2 was enough. So yeah, so one copy of Apprentice Illusion. This is just an extender. It can be a third body, but also sometimes if you just play Red Eyes Fusion, get Dragoon on the field, and you have this Illusion of Chaos in hand, just search Apprentice, and now your Dragoon is essentially a 5k beater. And if you negate on their opponent's turn, it's like a 6k beater, thanks to this card. So yeah, so that's essentially like the Dark Magician monster core, right? Yeah, not much to say about that, honestly, that I haven't already said in like other videos. I guess I'll just say any 2 of these bodies on the field makes Anaconda, right? So Rod Souls is the ideal way to make Anaconda. I mean, but you could make it with Souls Apprentice or Apprentice Rod, right? Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Apprentice because Apprentice can also like help you get rid of a brick. Like let's say you open DM Girl, you can get rid of her and then search DM, right, on her summon effect. So, all right, so that's what I have for Dark Magician monster starters. All right, now for non-Dark Magician monsters, I'm running 2 copies of Manju of the 10,000 Hands. That's right. This is another normal summon. It's a 1-card Dragoon, right? Basically, you read this card. It says when this card is normal summon, flip summon, you can add 1 ritual monster or 1 ritual spell from your deck to your hand. So you can normal this guy, use his effect to search Illusion of Chaos. Illusion of Chaos can then search Souls. Souls can send DM Girl to summon itself, and then you have Manju and Souls can make Anaconda. So yeah, Manju is a 1-card Dragoon. Obviously, you don't get to search Soul Servant to get your that draw too. Maybe you already have it in hand, whatever. But it's like, all right, let's say you don't open Rod Souls, you have this, right? And then the only other monster I'm running is Solravis. I'm running Solravis because it's a dragon, and it's also a kind of an anti-hand trap. So you can send it if your opponent targets your Rod or your Anaconda with card effects, like Imperm or Veil, you can send this from your hand to negate it, right? I'm actually gonna after playing at this tournament, I decided that this card was not worth it. It never came up. The reason being because again, I put this in to protect Rod, Anaconda from Imperm Veiler type cards, and nobody played Imperm Veiler. I mean, they're at 2 each, right? Because of this format. Hand traps are pretty much semi-limited. And then the last 2 monsters I have in the deck are 2 copies of Droll and Lockbird. So this is my only hand trap that I main deck, right? Droll and Lockbird is amazing because it pretty much hits every single deck in this Heart of the Underdog format that are good. So what deck? I mean, I've been to this format before. So what decks are good? Danger Dark World. That archetype is not banned. However, Silva is banned. So Silva is banned. So they have to play Danger Dark World without Silva, which is a lot more reasonable, right? Danger Dark World hard loses to Droll. Heroes. I always see heroes at my locals, even in advanced format. Droll kills heroes. Not this week, but last week I saw a Drytron player. I drolled them, and they just had to end their turn. So Droll just hits most of the good decks in this Hard Underdog, like this Jank format. So I'm main decking 2 copies of Droll. I can't main deck a 3rd copy because it's semi-limited, but it is what it is. All right, let's get into his spells. The one-ofs. 1 copy of Upstart Goblin. This card is cracked. Rod plus Upstart Goblin is Dragoon. This card synergizes with everything. Synergizes with in your deck. Synergizes with Soul Servant. Synergizes with Dark Magical Circle. Synergizes with Rod. Yeah, it's just insane. Really, Konami, you need to bring this card back to 3. Seriously, bring Upstart Goblin back to 3 on your next ban list. There's literally 0 reason for it to be at 1. 1 copy of Call by the Grave. This is mainly to stop hand traps. Again, I didn't really see hand traps at this tournament. Players opted to play blowout cards instead. They preferred, I saw Dark Ruin No Mores, I saw Droplets, I saw Kaijus. I saw way more of those kinds of board clear cards rather than actual hand traps, which I guess kind of makes sense. Hand traps are semi-limited, they're not that effective, whereas Dark Ruler's at 3, Droplets at 3, right? So yeah, so Call by didn't come up much. It did come up in one of the, so I went undefeated, right? One of my matchups was against a hero player, and I had this that I could have used against his DPE, but I outed his DPE, and I used this against his Shadow Mist when he tried to use it to search. But yeah, it's just a generically good card. This can be good against Dark World as well and other matchups. 1 copy of Terraforming. Let's put this here. This searches Major Salvation and also searches 1 copy of Secret Village of the Spellcaster. So I do main deck. Basically 2 ways to open Secret Village. Secret Village is not good going second. It's amazing going first. And in fact, this was an MVP card. Remember how I said most players on my locals were not opting to run hand traps at this tournament? The reason being because hand traps semi-limited, but so there are a lot of super polys. There's a lot of triple tactics. There's a lot of Dark Ruler. There's a lot of Droplet, right? And guess what card stops all those cards I listed? Secret Village. Yeah, this card was 100,000% MVP. 11 out of 10 would run again. This is just so freaking amazing. So those are the main one-ofs. All right, let's get into three copies of Preparation of Rites. So this card is not once per turn. It is a searcher for your ritual monsters. You can search 2 Illusion, 1 Seravis, right? If you open 2 of these, one can search one can search the other. If you don't need Seravis, it can be discard fodder for souls, right? Magician Souls can send these to the graveyard, and extra copies to just draw more cards. So you're literally never gonna break on Preparation of Rites. If you open 3 Preparation of Rites in your hand, you can play all 3 of them. This one gets Illusion, Illusion gets Souls, Souls can turn these 2 to draw 2. Bam, done. Right. So never run 3 Illusion of Chaos, run 2, and then if you want more copies of that, just run more Preparations of Rites, because yeah, this card is cracked. So very good. Let's see what else. Okay, so that's Preparation of Rites. I also ran 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet in the main. So Barone, cards like Barone are banned in this format. Like a lot of those annoying like Omni Negates are banned. Totally Awesome is not banned, by the way. So Totally Awesome is legal in this format. However, the only decks that make it are like Shark decks and like Water decks. So which I think is healthy. Like we don't have Sprite like Splashing Toad easily. But yeah, I'm running Droplet because again, it's a good going first or going second, like to help you blow out their board kind of thing. But also, I figured there are some monsters that can negate your Red Eyes Fusion, right? Like Rafa can essentially negate Red Eyes Fusion and change its effect to make it them discard a card. So you can play Red Eyes Fusion and then chain if they try to negate or do something to it, you can chain this to send Red Eyes Fusion and then negate whatever monster is trying to stop you Red Eyes Fusion. So yeah, Forbidden Droplet, good card. Would not cut. Definitely came in handy a couple times today. All right, fusion spells. 1 copy of Magical Eyes Fusions. 2 copies of Super Polymerization. 3 copies of Red Eyes Fusion. So Super Poly is good going first or second, and in this format, this is like very good card. Like I said, decks that are good in this format include, but are not limited to, Dark World, all dark monsters, bam. Plus, heroes, mostly dark monsters, bam. Even Drytron, if they aren't on the Herald and any like Drytron name, that's a Mud Dragon, right? Any water deck, Marine Cess, right? This confuse Toad with any Marine Cess monster. Against Shark decks, this confuse Toad with Bahamut Shark or the Stealth Krogan, right? So into Mud Dragon. So Super Poly, amazing. I would not cut this. Magical Eyes Fusion is basically there to make a second Dragoon or to sometimes make a Quintet Magician. This never came up, and because we don't have access to a second Anaconda, normally the first Anaconda is going to send Red Eyes Fusion, and then the second Anaconda sends Magical Eyes. But I don't have a second Anaconda, so I would cut this in the future Janksequences tournament. If I do run Dark Magician again, yeah, I would not run Magical Eyes. It never came up. I cited it most of the time. And the few times where it could have come up, where it's like, oh, my first Dragoon got outed. I wish I had Magical Eyes, but I don't have another Anaconda, so or I just didn't draw it. So yeah, and 3 copies of Red Eyes Fusion. This card wins games. Great going second. You go second, you can pop, swing for game, right? Going first, you can just set up your Dragoon, and yeah, no reason to run fewer than 3 copies. Lalza is still running Red Eyes Fusion in his Advanced TCG Dark Magician deck because it's just really good. So those are like the main fusion cards of the deck. Yeah, Ref is a 1-card starter. It puts 2 of your bricks in the graveyard. Let's get into Dark Magician spell traps, right? So another fusion spell, Secrets of Dark Magic. This came up once today, and it was for making the Dark Magicians. But it could make a second Dragoon or just a Dragoon if you Dark Magician with Imduck or Dark Magician with Soravis, right? No, I'm not running Tamias. I don't like Tamias. Like Tamias is only good rather Tamias is only played, or at least in my opinion, Tamias should only be played in modern like advanced format TCG format Dark Magician decks because we don't have access to Anaconda. But because we do, F Tamias. 3 copies of Soul Servant. Pretty self-explanatory, right? This card is cracked. It can get you a draw 2. 1 copy of Dark Magical Circle, 1 copy of Magician's Salvation, 1 copy of Eternal Soul. So, yeah, never needed more than 1 copies of these. I set up Circle Eternal Soul on turn 1 in two of the games I played, and then on every other game I had usually 1, and then the second one came on the subsequent turn. Salvation was pretty good for just like getting more, helping you. Well, obviously it sets Eternal Soul, but also it can be a search off Terraforming if you already if you don't need Secret Village or you already have it. And yeah, so you basically have 3 ways of getting Eternal Soul. But also, you only need one circle because like Rod, Prep searches illusion, illusion searches Rod, Rod searches circle. So it's like, and these also you have so many ways to get to this one circle. You never need more than two. Like it's very bricky to have more than one. So, or sorry, you never need more than one. So yeah, that's the main deck. Very straightforward. Yeah, like I said, I would not really change any of these ratios. The only thing I would change from the main deck is I would cut Saravis and I would cut Magic Light Fusion just because they just didn't come up. Period. What I would replace them with, I don't know. I'll figure that out later. But anyway, so that's main deck. Let's get into the extra deck. We have 2 copies of the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. This card is insane. Yeah, it's your boss monster. You can make it off Verte. You can make it off Red Eyes Fusion. And oh, are those 2 Starlight Dragoons? Yes, they are. They are 2 Starlight Dragoons. I basically have Dragoons in every ratio. Like, I have I have basically 2 Dragoons in every rarity. I have 2 Ultra Dragoons, 2 Prismatic Dragoons, 2 Starlight Dragoons. This card is like one of my favorite cards in the game. I love this card. Um, yeah, the second Dragoon never came up today, mostly because it's like I didn't have a second Verde to go into Magicalized, but it could have come up. Like I could have used Secrets of Dark Magic to use like I'm Duck and Dark DM. I could have used Secrets of Dark Magic to use like DM and Saravis, right? It could have come up. It just didn't, right? Um, and if I did have a second Verde, there would have been a game where I think my first recruit got like Kaiju or whatever. Then I would have brought out the second one in that game, but I just didn't because I didn't have it. One copy of the Dark Magicians. This card came up once today. It was basically like battle phase, Secrets of Dark Magic, fuse DM and DMG to do another 2,800 points of damage. Is that a Starlight Dark Magicians? Yes, it is. Yeah, so I have one Starlight Dark Magicians. I have one of the original Ultra Rare, and I have one of the Secret Rare from Legendary Duelist Season 3. One copy of the Dragonite never came up. One copy of Quintet Magician never came up. So, yeah, I would probably, because I said I would cut Magic Light Fusion, I would also cut Quintet, because you can't really make Quintet otherwise. It's like really hard without Magic Light Fusion. I would probably even cut this one because, like, why would I ever go into this card when I can go into a Dragoon, right? Like, yeah, this never came up. I don't know why I bothered having it. But yeah, so those are the main extra deck Dark Magician related monsters. Now for the other extra deck monsters, super tall power targets. One copy of Mud Dragon, one copy of Starving Venom, one copy of Predaplan Draco Stapelia. Draco Stapelia came up once. I super polyed. It was in the hero matchup. I super polyed Darklaw with DP to make Draco Stapelia. Bam. Where's Garura, you may be asking. Garuru's banned. So, otherwise I would have Garura here. Because obviously Garura is an amazing super poly target. So, yeah. Very straightforward. Invoked is also legal in this format. So, technically, like Mechaba, like DP can make Draco Stapelia, or Mechaba, like Kaliga, or whatever. So, those are all the fusions. Now, let's get into Link monsters. So, the Link ones, we have one copy of Link Spider, one copy of I'm Duck, one copy of Artemis. Yeah, these are pretty much mandatory in every Dark Magician deck profile, even in Advanced TCG. That is an ulti Link Spider, and that is a collector's rare Artemis. So, yeah, very pretty. So, yeah, Rod. If you can't get into Anaconda, you just have Rod on field. You can link away to Artemis, right? Because you want Rod in the graveyard because Rod can then tribute Artemis on your opponent's turn to summon itself, or rather to recycle itself back to the hand. Link Spider, Amduck are ways of getting Vanilla Dark Magician off the field and into the graveyard. But also, Amduck is a dragon, so if you open Magicalized with Magician Souls, that's Dragoon. Magician Souls make DM, Link in the Amduck, and then Magicalized, bam, Dragoon, right? Amduck can also be used with Secrets of Dark Magic to make Dragoon as well. So, those are Link 2s. Link 1s. Link 2s. One copy of the Dark Charmer, one copy of Predaplan Verte Anaconda. So, obviously, this card is banned in, like, traditional, in a rather advanced format TCG. But, again, this is Hardy Underdog, Jank format, and then the last Friday of the month is Janksequences, where we're allowed one ban card from the regular ban list back, and I chose Verte Anaconda because I miss Dark Magician. I miss having this card, and man, do I miss this card. Like, not only does this card enable my draw 2 off Soul Servant because of Rod and Souls, but also it puts so many like puts monsters in the graveyard that I want. Like, it's just amazing. Like, unbricks the deck. Yeah, that is a Starlight Dark the Dark Charmer, by the way. So yeah, obviously Verde MVP card. Only unfortunate part was I did not have a second one. Otherwise, I would be running second Verde. And then finally, our higher links. We have 2 link 3s. We have Selene. Selene is just a great way to get monsters into the graveyard, but also it's a makeshift Eternal Soul. Like, you get a lot of counters on her, and on your opponent's turn you can use, if you don't have Eternal Soul, you can use her to revive DM from graveyard, like under her arrow, and then trigger Circle. So she can be a makeshift. She never came up today. And I have Blackluster Soldier, Soldier Chaos. Access Code Talker is banned in the Jank format, and yeah, instead of running Topological Bomber Dragon or something like that, I decided to run Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, because it's a cool card. This came up once, so that one game I told you about where I got my Dragoon got Kaiju'd, like tributed, right? On the following turn, I made this guy. And then I had like DMG with Circle, Eternal Soul, like secrets, and then I made the Dark Magician. So yeah, and then that's how I won. Yeah, this guy becomes untargetable, indestructible by card effects. So yeah, so that is the extra deck. Yeah. What would I cut? I would cut Dragonite and probably Quintet because they literally did nothing, and it's too annoying to make them, and it's like, why would you make them when you can make another Dragoon? So. And then finally let's get into the side deck. So side deck here is 2 copies of Nibiru, the Primal Being. I have the token here if you've noticed. Nibiru came up once today. So yeah, I side this in for going second. Or if I'm against like a deck I know that summons a lot, it's like, oh, you got my Dragoon, I can probably Nibiru your field or something. Yeah, so I like Nibiru. 2 copies of Secret Village of the Spellcasters. I already have 1 in the main deck with Terraforming. Going first, side these 2 in, and now you have 4 copies in your main deck. Again, this card was MVP. It won me against Heroes, and won me against Phantom Knights, and won me against Dark World. Like, play this card. It will win you the game, period. Even in Advanced TCG format. I think Lalza does something similar. I think he has 1 village in the main with like 2 in the side. Yeah, this card, I think it should be mandatory 3 of between your main deck and side deck. Like, 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. This is just for back row clear. I didn't face any trap decks today, but the only time I sided these in was against Dark World, just because it's just like, oh, if I'm going first against Dark World, they play Gates to Dark World, I can like banish Gates after they activate it to like make the effect fizzle and just get rid of it, right? But otherwise, this didn't really come up. And I'm also running. 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. This card is at 3 in Jank format. MVP card. I use it like 2 or 3 times today. Going second. Going second, I almost always side these in. I almost always side in Nibiru. I almost always side these in, and I almost always side in 2 copies of Evenly Match. Unfortunately, even the match is semi-limited in this format, but that's okay. I think that's fair. But yeah, this came up once today against a Phantom Knights player, and yeah, so great card. Always side in going second. And then the last 3 cards of mine, which I side in only for going first, 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. I do have ulti Solemn Judgments, but they're currently sitting in my Labyrinth deck, and I didn't want to re-sleeve. So instead, I decided I'm going to rock these Ghost Rare Solemn Judgments because they're very pretty. And these are actually the Judgments I use back in my Eldritch deck because it's like gold Ghost Rare from like the Gold Mine. It has like a gold outline or whatever, but yeah. So Judgment I drew once, but I actually didn't even need it. But it's just a way to protect Dragoon. Like, I don't want my Dragoon to get Dark Rulered or Dropleted, so that's why I have Solemn Judgment. So that's it. That's the deck profile. Yeah, man, playing with Verte Anaconda again. I went undefeated, right? It was 4 rounds. First match was against the Goaty fish deck, like the fish synchro deck. Beat them. That's the one where they like Kaiju tributed my Dragoon in game 2, but then I came back with Black BLS and like the you know DMG, right. Second match was against Heroes. I Super Poly DP. I 2-1. I Super Poly DP and Dark Light 1 points. Yeah, game 3 was when I beat them with Secret Village. They opened like all their spells and they couldn't play any of them because of Secret Village. Yeah, Secret Village is so good. There was a Phantom Knights player. Oh, funny story. So, the hero player could have brought back any deck, because it was Janksequences. Could have brought back any deck card from their limited or forbidden list for their deck. You know what they brought back? They brought back a third copy of Destiny Hero Malicious, which is hilarious because it's like, oh wow, that card's been on the semi-limit list forever, for so long. It's like it was like crazy to see him actually like banish his second Malicious in graveyard to summon his third. I'm like, oh wow, yeah. So he ran his third Malicious, which is funny. Uh, dual number. My third match was against Phantom Knights, and the Phantom Knights player chose to bring back Verte Anaconda as well. So they basically went like full power Phantom Knights, like uh, you know, uh, double Fog Blade, and then ended with like went into Verte and then made DPE, right. Only problem was DPE gets like dumpstered by Dragoon, so literally all I had to do was play Red Eyes Fusion, and then DPE is just like can't do anything. It's like pop pop swing, and then it's just like DP cannot out Dragoon. Dragoon can easily like mess up DPE. So yeah, so there was one other player my Jank sequences which did bring back Anaconda, but they brought it back for DP, whereas I brought it back for the main man himself, Dragoon, and Dragoon came out victorious. And then my fourth match was against Dark World deck, Danger Dark World, where yeah, I like game three. I basically set up Dragoon, Circle, Soul, and like a Secret Village, and guess what? Well, while in the Secret Village, a Dark World cannot Gates of Dark World. They cannot fusion into their Grapha fusion. They can't card destruction. They can't do a lot of stuff. So yeah, Secret Village MVP card, absolutely. Um, but yeah, Dark World deck was probably the strongest one that I faced because, again, it's Danger Dark World with no Silva. It's still a good deck. Like they can still um, put out massive amounts of like bodies and just like draw through their whole deck, right? Um, so yeah, try to convince your locals to do a format like this. I don't know if I'm gonna play Dark Magician again, even if next month, we do Janksequences on the last Friday of the month, because I really want to play Pot of Greed, yo. And it's like I don't want to play Pot of Greed and Dark Magician without Verde. So yeah, I'm gonna play another deck probably with Pot of Greed because I want to be able to play Pot of Greed. I haven't played Pot of Greed in so long, right? I want to play a lot. A lot of players like to play Pot of Greed at this Janksequences. Yeah, maybe I'll post some like Jank, like regular Jank format deck profiles. I don't know. Depends on whether this video is successful, whether I have good feedback. But yeah, it's fun. Yeah, like in general, people hate TCG Advanced format around because F tier limits. Like everybody hates tier limits. Tier limits suck. The format's like kind of shitty. Nobody wants to play. But they introduce alternative formats. Maybe a Goat format, Edison format, Hard Underdog, like Jank format, and then all of a sudden everyone shows up to locals. Like today, we had enough people to do 4 rounds, right? Um, so I think we had like 20. I don't know how many. We had enough for 4 rounds. So clearly, people want to play alternative formats of Yu-Gi-Oh right now. I certainly do. Like I haven't really been going to locals for Advanced TCG in so long because yeah, like it's just annoying to play tier limits, right? Last time it was in December with Labyrinth. I topped. I got first place undefeated. I put out my deck pro and I was like, all right, I'm done with TCG Advance until Photon Hypernova comes out. So yeah, so maybe I'll do that once I get the like big welcome and the other cards for Labyrinth. But yeah, so that was my Dark Magician uh, deck profile, undefeated, first place for uh, Janksequences, aka alternative Jank, aka Hardly Underdog format. So hope you enjoyed, especially my Dark Magician viewers, subscribers. If I still have them, If you all still like to watch Dark Magician content, yeah, I'm telling you, like, just experiencing this card again, just being able to like use this card again felt so freaking good. You get like you get Drugen out more consistently. You have fewer points of interruption. Like you get your draw 2 off Soul Server. It's just beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful to to have that. So whereas in like TCG Advance is like you have to go into Timaeus, so you can't even get Eternal Soul or Circle, and then like you get a draw 1. It just feels bad. So anyway, hope you enjoyed. Maybe you learned something. Maybe you appreciated all my shiny cards. Uh, but yeah, just appreciated me putting Dark Magician content out. I like to do that sometimes. I want to do as much as I can. Yeah, see you in the next video. Peace.